All right, welcome back. Got a little shipment here from White Mountain Knives. I have to say that that might be one of the coolest websites I've worked with. I have bought knives from a lot of websites. And I think I mainly talked to like one guy at White Mountain. I can't remember if there's a name that's been even shared, or if I just see like the White Mountain Knives at gmail.com or something like that. But I've just had like continuously really good experiences with White Mountain, so highly recommend. I like DLT also, plus DLT does a lot of cool exclusives, but White Mountain is just it's a cool website. So anyways, when I can, I try to buy from people that do right by me, and that is why these two came from there. What do we have here? Hogue knives. We haven't done too much content on Hogue. I feel like my Deka has maybe shown up on a few videos, but there are two variants here that I thought were really interesting. So the reason I got into the Deka at first, and here's my original variant. So I have the Magnacut clip point FD polymer with the black. In fact, why don't I just pull it out here? Whoop. Can't open a knife into a box, turns out. Won't slice that way. So I already had that one. Got that from White Mountain Knives also, by the way. Just for a quick comparison here. So that is the clip point black finish. Grabbed a couple with the tumbled finish, one with the Wharncliffe, and one with the clip point blue and black. So that, I just, to me, what they're doing, I think you can, I think the MSRP is higher, maybe 150 or something, but they're selling these for 127 in the tumbled finish. Like, you can, that's the best value right now in this type of knife. Like, compare that with a Bugout. I think these may have even just gone up. Like, you can use the last few months you've been buying those for 144, you know, marked down to 144 on most knife websites. I think they may have just gone to 161. But this one has been, I think this has actually gone up. I think it may have been lower. I was watching some videos from right when it came out. I think it was even like a few less bucks. But for a Magnacut, to me, this is like a really cool knife. The thing I like the least about the Hogue Deka, maybe the two things would be the balance, because it's so light on the polymer is just so light. It's very like hard to find a balance point. It's like right there. It's not that it's in a terrible spot, it's that it just feels very light. This polymer kind of sucks. It's not terrible. I actually don't mind the strength of it so much as the feel of it. That sound. That just sounds hollow. Here, sounds hollow, right? Like, by comparison, here it's a little, they're a little different sounding. Up, 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 up. Click, 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 click. It's very hollow. On the other end of it, probably the best Grivery I've felt. Feel so solid. It's just way more hollow sounding. So I don't love that about this knife. Try to see in there. Yeah, I guess it is a little web in there. But to me, this is an opportunity to get a Magnacut. And I'm just trying to find some good scales. They obviously make the Deka, or maybe not obviously, but if you don't know, they make the Deka in a G10 or I should say they make it with a 20 CV blade. Don't love the look of that pocket clip either. It's a little shiny. Maybe it's not as bad as, I guess it's kind of the same tumbled finish as the blade or something like that. A little different, I think. It's not terrible. It's a little shiny for me. The shape of it's not bad. I'm gonna throw that in the pocket real quick, actually, because this is to me like a total EDC. Yeah, it goes into the pocket really well. So I actually like the shape of the clip. Effective. It's very effective. It does not have recessed screws in there, so that's a little disappointing. But this is a really cool knife to me. Like a lot of the benefits of the Bugout, plus it's Magnacut. You know, they're still freaking selling the Bugout with S30V in 2022. Like to me, that should be at least S35VN for the price they're selling it for. You know, if not S45VN or 20CV or something. I have the, gosh, who was it? I think it's DLT Trading exclusive on this. Let me find it. I'm gonna fish it out. Yeah, here. No, that's not it. I have the DLT, I think it's DLT Trading exclusive, where they had a G10. And it's what the, oh, Blade HQ. Sorry, Blade HQ. It's what the knife should have been. So this has a, you know, the Bugout in a, it's like a white G10 handle, and then you can either get it in a, it's 20 CV and white G10, and it's like what the Bugout should have been to me, or like should be now, you know, at least like update it now, you know, at this point. It's like we're at a point where, although I do like the drop point blade shape more than the clip point. Like I think this knife, I like a clip point on a bigger knife, like, or even a taller clip point, so that this doesn't just go so long that it just feels like you're, I don't know, it feels a little pointy to me. The Bugout, I like the blade shape a little more on the Bugout. It's a little more, by the way, I don't see a lot of people, well, maybe I don't watch enough Bugout videos, but I don't see a lot of people like tinkering with these, kind of like a Demko, but you can totally flip these in and out like a Demko, which is really cool. And the Hogue seems to be very similar. Ooh, it's a brand new knife, so it'll take a second to work its way in, but it's actually pretty drop sheddy right from the factory. Let's see. Yeah, I mean that, it's not bad. Let's see how the other one is out of the box. I remember that when I got this one, it was pretty drop sheddy, right? In fact, I think better than that one right there. Maybe I'm wrong. Won't be the first time, isn't the first time, won't be the last. Yeah, I don't know. I really like the way that the action feels on the Deka. Oh, you know what it is? It's the one, the thumb only is really good. That's what it is. It's been a while. These have been pretty much sitting in the box, but I don't find the one finger to work super well in the Bugout. It's kind of like, first of all, hard to do, and second, sometimes just doesn't quite go down all the way. I feel like you have to like put the back finger on as well and do both sides of the lock in order for it to like really work. Anyways, here I go again. We're almost 10 minutes in. I'm talking about Bugouts instead of the actual knife in question. Just throw that in here too, the little Bugout mini. So yeah, these Hogue Dekas are like, as I got into this sort of third phase, they were like one of the first ones. I really like, I read up on Magnacut a lot and got super nerdy and stoked about it, like most people, I think. Now have that Demko custom in Magnacut, which is like, kind of rounds off my collection. I feel like it kind of helps me slow down a little. This has been a little crazy the last few months. So this other one is the Warmcliff, and I figured I'd just go black tumbled on that one. And the Warmcliff is one of these ones that like, I feel like you get some of the benefits of like the shark's foot. Yeah, it's very similar. It's a little pokier and pointier, and then I don't like the fact that they have this like modified, it looks really cool, but Hogue, if you just make that straight so that people can maintain their knives easier, I think that's a better trade-off. But this is a really cool, like I like that they're doing something kind of unique here. I like when knife brands do something that not everyone's doing. It's a little too, in my opinion, like, see how I even like slipped off there? It's a little too knocked down to the point where like it's a little thin on the top, where if you're gonna like try and use it like this, it's kind of pokey almost. It's not bad, like it's still pretty rounded, but it's not, the feeling of the shark's foot is like, you get a really nice purchase on there. It's really thick on the top and you can use it for opening stuff really nicely. It would be cool if Hogue kind of took some design cues from that knife on this one, but I'm, you know, have to say, like, I really like, the finish looks pretty cool. And yeah, not a lot of production knives right now in folders with Magnacut. So that to me is a really cool thing. I got a feeling this price is gonna go up on these. I don't know. If I was a betting man, I would guess as Magnacut becomes like known for being the best and everyone wants it, I think Hogue's got a little bit of an advantage and they could start raising the prices potentially. So I'd watch out for that if you want one of these. This is probably the time to get it. I don't think they're ever going to be less expensive than they are right now. Unless we have like a crazy economic event or something like that. I think this is a really great time to buy this knife. I find it super easy to open in every way that you can imagine. So it's one of those like knives that kind of does things how it's very intuitive to operate, opening and closing. So let's get some of these comparables out of here for now. We may bring them back and just take a look at these three. Maybe we'll even put this guy in the middle, because that to me is like, if I EDC one of these, that's my EDC. I do not like a black finish for EDC. Just bothers me when it starts getting like scratched up. I imagine this one's pretty tough and would be fairly resilient compared to some of the cheaper ones that I've had issues with in the past, but I've never seen a blacked EDC that's actually getting used that you know, didn't have issues. And sorry, my lighting is terrible right now. I'm trying to improve it so I can do some close-ups here, but I'm either like getting, let's see if I can focus on something bigger for a second. There we go. I'm just getting terrible lighting on this video, so I'll work on that for the next one, but really like this one. This one sort of stood out to me as like a really cool color combo. So I just wanted to have it. Kind of wish I'd gotten that one in the Wharncliffe. I think that would be a cool look. This looks really cool to me too, but now with the Wharncliffe would actually be really cool. And then here is the, get the big target on here so we get the focus going. That Wharncliffe is a pointy little knife, man. That is a slicey knife. I don't know why they do this thing. It looks cool, but this sort of modified Wharncliffe is just a little funky to me. That just makes your life a little harder when you're sharpening, and I don't really care for that kind of concept very much. If that was flat and just the whole knife was a little taller and like thicker at the top, I feel like this would be a very tight competitor for the Demko at a lower price. You get Magnacut. I mean, man, you throw that, if you throw a G10 on this, make that a little taller, get rid of the modified, like do more of this type of blade shape. And I can live with this, like if I wasn't such a knife nerd, if it was a very utility knife, like I could live with this FRN, I'll be honest. It more than the Bugout, it does bother me, I have to admit. It's nice to have some like good texturing on here, but yeah, that's just one of the worst examples that I felt. So if they did this in G10, keep the Magnacut, make this a little more functional versus fashion blade, a little more function versus fashion. It's kind of funky. I never really noticed how they have these kind of severe jumps here. Wonder why they do that. I mean, I can see where you can kind of like get a little purchase on it or whatever with the jimping, but it's kind of weird. Feels a little weird on the finger. I guess if that's a little place for your finger to recess into or something. I don't know. That's kind of weird to me. But yeah, G10, keep the Magnacut, make that blade a little more functional, or even just do G10 on this right here. Maybe even make, you know, pay a couple bucks more. I'd pay an extra 20 bucks for G10 versus FRN crap. That to me would be a really awesome knife. And if you don't know, and it says USA right there, made in USA, like for this price, Magnacut, I don't know, this feels like the best deal in EDC right now to me. Like if you're just value hunting for like a quality knife, you know, value hunting, you're gonna see a lot of less expensive knives than these, don't get me wrong. But if you're like value hunting for like a nice EDC that you could use for years, and I don't know how long this FRN will last, but you could always throw some like titanium scales on that or something. I'm sure there's some really cool aftermarkets going on. In fact, I think I saw Flytanium. I can't remember who I saw. Someone's doing some aftermarkets for these that are pretty compelling. That would be pretty freaking cool. Maybe swap out to the black. Throw the black on there instead of this kind of shiny. It's not bad, but it's a little shiny for me. I kind of wish that was a little more matte or something. It's even like shinier, it looks like, than the blade in a way, but it's not bad. Whatever, it's just not a big deal. But I could see like throwing the black on there. G10, that with Magnacut, that's a compelling, it's a very compelling EDC. You know, like I'll bring out some potential comparables again. The Wii Banter at 108. Got the G10, but man, you got the, gosh, what do they call it? So on here it's called the Axis lock, and I can't remember off the top of my head, it just slipped my mind. What's the lock called? Oh, that's gonna kill me. They have a different name for it, and it totally blanked on the name of it. And I can find it really quickly here or something. Bear with me. So it's a, you know, a really good locking mechanism. The interesting thing about Hogue, and which surprises me that they did this handle, is they have like really cool, like G Mascus or whatever you call it, options. I mean, they're not for everyone, but like they also have like a fully black G10 on their 20 CV version. Like there are quite a few variants that they have in terms of the handles. I don't know why they went, you go and bring out like this cool blade steel like Magnacut, and then you go with this FRN. I guess they were just really going after the Bugout. That's all I can really think of. But like for me, these are the most comparable. And again, like, love this mechanism in a lot of ways. You can see I'm kind of out of practice on it because I haven't been carrying this now for a couple of weeks because it's the winter, and this guy right here has been occupying my pocket every day with that that new carry clip. Really enjoying that. That's been awesome. It's not as good as these, I'll be honest. It's still like too big and kind of clunky, but man, I could really see carrying that and just putting Magnacut to the test. Just so like 144 going to like 161 maybe in some places. I don't know how long, or like what the real price is on this. Honestly, it Benchmade, they're gonna find a way to like charge more if they can. 127 pretty much everywhere. You know, everyone gives you that little discount or whatever, a generic discount. These were out of stock for a while when I first started collecting again. I could not find one of these anywhere. I finally found one on eBay, decided not to buy it on there because you just don't really know. You know, the seller wasn't validated or anything. And I ended up waiting it out and just buying it from White Mountain this week. So that is just a really good knife and a compelling, you know, Magnacut story. I feel like if you're really into blade steels and want to give Magnacut a try, hard to beat this. This is really cool. So yeah, a couple shortcomings, like feel in hand. It's the side, yeah, it's just not great. I'm just gonna be completely honest. The handle is the shortcoming on this one. That's the shortcoming on this one to me. It's not terrible, but it's just not good. It's not like a standout quality of the knife. Like, yeah, I think the Bugout handle is just significantly better to me, which, you know, this is known for not being a good handle, so that does not speak super highly to the Hogue, but there is, so I always do is I line up the very tip of the handle. Oops, sorry, my bad. I line up the very tip of the handle so that those are even, and then I see what's the length of the blades. They're almost exactly the same from there. And then I come back and see what's the length. And that Deka is longer. It's like an 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch longer, but the Bugout shape, it feels bigger in my hand and more like ergonomic. The roundedness here. This feels like I really feel the 1-2 different sides to it, and that kind of sucks. So I'm going to try and find like the G10 or like maybe an aftermarket scale for this, and put that in there, because that, I think, puts this on the next level and makes it a super compelling EDC for trying out Magnacut. Everything else is so good. Like the lock is good, the deployment's super smooth, super smooth. All of them are perfectly lined up from what I've seen. Let's double check all of these. Throw all of them in here and take a look. But I think they've all been like really nicely centered. More than I can say for the Bugouts. That's another thing I don't like about Bugouts, is like almost every one I've dealt with is either, even if it comes centered, it ends up not centered at some point, which just drives me crazy. As a knife nerd, like, that drives me crazy. So it always ends up a little bit this way, a little towards the show side. Same thing with my mini here. It's just a little bit. Doing a really good job with the camera work today, aren't I? A little bit off to the show side. Same thing, you can see that there. I don't know why. I don't know if it's like when you're pushing it and it's just weak or something in there. I'll definitely say like this material feels weaker. Let's go 1-to-1 here. This material does feel stronger than the Bugout, but it's like feels more brittle. This is like definitely weak. I don't personally feel that a lot when I'm like, maybe if you're doing really hard cuts or something, but I don't feel that a lot when I'm using the knife personally. I know some people have complained about that, but I don't, it doesn't personally bother me much. So, but just the cheap feel of this one does. That really bothers me. So that's unfortunate. Just go like that. So yeah, I think like a modified version of this, or if Hogue comes up with the G10, or even just offers an aftermarket. I mean, literally, this is a company that offers aftermarket freaking grips for guns, right? Or what do you call them? Stocks, or I don't know, the term's slipping my mind, but yeah, they do like basically modified, you know, gun grips. And yet they're offering this knife and not offering like a scale to go with it, I think. Or maybe they do. Correct me if I'm wrong. Throw the link in the video or whatever if so, but throw a G10 or a titanium or a carbon. Ooh, carbon would be really cool on that actually. Handle in there, and I think you got a winner. So did notice it is reversible on the clip, which is nice. Very minimal lanyard hole, which for me is great. I don't care for that or need that for any reason. This one actually kind of looks better, to be honest, now that I'm looking at it, but Just think it's unnecessary for me personally. Again, clip point, not terrible, but not. I've seen less functional blades by a long shot, but it's not my favorite blade. And then the severity of this upturn here. What's cool is it's a very long, flat cutting surface on the clip point versus the Bugout, so that lasts longer on a flat cutting surface. But this sort of less severe upturn for me makes this part of this cutting surface a little more useful. For me, everyone has different functions and uses for their knives, but that's kind of my quick take on that is my take on the Deka. Cool knife, great value for getting into a Magnacut knife. If you put your EDC to work every day and you need really good corrosion resistance, Magnacut does the mix of toughness, hardness, and edge retention, and the corrosion resistance. Like, that is very hard to beat for $127. Really impressed with what's here. Yeah, then you just throw whatever scales on there, and I think you've got a total winner as like an all-arounder. What I wouldn't mind here is, like, as a beater, like, I'd beat the crap out of this and I wouldn't be like, oh, my perfect scales. Like, I would just beat the crap out of these scales because I don't like them. And sometimes there's some benefit to be said for that. You know, like, if you have a really nice car and you go park somewhere and you're like concerned about door dings, your very nice car is like less utilitarian and useful than a, you know, crappy car that you just can use as an appliance essentially. Same thing with knives. Sometimes you don't want your knife to be something that you're worried about. You want to be able to do what you got to do with it and drop it, or, you know, whatever you got to do, right? This, for me, feels like that knife where it's going to be hard to beat the resilience of this knife all around. So cool job. I like it. Obviously, I've bought 3 of them. I think these are the 3, you know, kind of interesting offerings that they have. You know, as a collector, these are the 3 that I wanted to get in on this sort of first round before maybe prices go up or something like that. And it's an early adopter Magnacut. That's why, you know, in a large part, I like Tactile Knife Co. too, because they were an early adopter Magnacut too. So we'll see. Maybe I'll throw this one in the pocket. This feels like a really good option for this upcoming summer or something, but it could also be a good winter option when I like want really good corrosion resistance and stuff. And I think that the AUS 10A blade steel in the Demko is like pretty good on corrosion resistance. I'd have to double check how good it is. I think probably edge retention is the thing it's weakest at, and like toughness and corrosion resistance I think we're pretty good, but let me do a little research on that. And I'm trying to remember what it is. I think it's like kind of similar to 154 CM. I think it's similar to 154 CM, so pretty good, right? But yeah, Hogue Deka. See, I'll throw some links to White Mountain Knives in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and we will see you on the next one. Take care.